Howdy. So what are we doing today? I have my friend Kevin's Stratocaster here. This is made in Mexico. It's about 2001, 2002-ish. What happened was I'm at his house. I usually play bass there, but I also play, I love Strats. I like playing guitar. I took this down, take it out and play it a little bit, and it's got like a short in the output jack. It was annoying. It feels decent to play. It feels a little cheap, but I like Strats, and I always think Strats can be worked on. They're like classic guitar. You make them your own, I think, is the whole goal of them. So I said, hey, it's a pretty decent Strat, but it has this crackly output. He says, why don't you take it and work on it? We went back and forth a little bit. I said, hey, I'll work on it, and then I'm going to bring it back, keep it at your place, but I want to tune it up a little bit. So I have it here at my place now. Here in the guest room studio. It's a guest room and it's a studio. But so I started going over it. I decided I want to document all this because there's some things I want to do. I love working on guitars. I have some other projects. There's probably a ton of videos I would love to do at some point. But here's how we go on this one. Before I take anything apart, I'm going to get some playing through my DAW. I'm going to go straight into the DAW. I'm going to use an amp modeler. And then after I'm done working, I'll use the same amp modeler so it'll be consistent. And I'll play mainly clean tones because I really want to capture what this thing sounds like. And the other side of things is I want to capture, once I make it nicer, I know it's going to feel nicer to play. It's going to feel like a nicer guitar. I'm going to like, the pickups are going to ring a little better. But how is that really going to come across in nice audio? Is it going to make a big difference to somebody listening to it, is my first curiosity. No matter how nice the pickups are, will people know? Will people know the difference? Will I feel it? Will people know it? So mainly clean tones, but through an amp modeler, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of overdrive tones. I have an overdrive pedal I built. It's kind of transparent, but it's got a nice, it's an LED soft clipper, fairly flat frequency response compared to a tube screw. But anyway, it's a nice overdrive. I'm not gonna overdo it. I'm not worried about making a heavy metal guitar out of this. So let's see, what do I know it needs already is the question. So pickups, these are probably ceramic pickups. Kevin wants Texas Specials. I'm thinking Tex-Mex. I also have some other little secrets. Again, that's a different video, the secrets. How are the pots? How are the controls? What capacitors are in there? I like things 50s wired. It makes the tone work a little nicer as you roll the volume off. I also like, for sure, a master tone, so the bridge has a tone. That third knob might end up being a W knob. I do that. It might be a push-pull. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm also curious, how is it routed? Can it take a humbucker? That might change things a little bit. So for sure, pickup changes. I'm thinking Tex-Mex, maybe hum single, maybe something crazier. I don't know. What else? Let's start up here. I hate these string trees that have no bushing, and it brings the string right down flat to the headstock. I also hate having a string tree on the high strings and not on D and G. You know, I don't care if it's vintage or not. I want a consistent break angle on all 6 strings, and I definitely don't want those 2 strings going in such a hard break angle that the string is getting kinked. The B has already gone out of tune on me, just a little bit of bending. So I know that needs a little bit of help. I'm not a tremolo user really, but I know I want to change how that headstock, how the string profile goes through there. I also suspected the nut needed a little bit of, you know, smoothing and graphite and whatever. But then here's the thing with the nut. I got it close. I'm looking at it. I don't know if you can see on here. The E and A, too close together. All right, we're already talking about a neck that is about a 1/16 narrower than the Made in America necks. So it's a narrower neck. It's got a goofy string spacing in there. It's got to go. I hate doing nuts. It's tedious. But again, that'll be a video. I'll talk about I do a calculation. I lay it all out. I get out my fine files. I work on, you know, I do what I have to do. So that'll be a thing. If I'm doing that anyway, I'm going to address the frets. They're like little narrow vintage frets, so there's not a lot to play with. I'm at least going to run a crowning file on them because there's some flat spots down here in the cowboy area. They definitely need to be polished. The fret edges, I can make them nicer. They're a little bit, you won't get on the camera, but they're kind of rough on the end. The fretboard, it'll make the whole thing nicer to play. It's going to feel like a nicer guitar after some things like that. Again, the little narrower neck and getting a little more spacing on there, I can definitely cheat the E strings out a couple hundredths, but it's going to make a big difference. Let's see, coming on down. The bridge, nice action, but these Allen heads down here stick out so hard, you palm mute, you think you're going to need a tetanus shot because it's going to go into your, it's going to go right in the palm of your hand. It's so uncomfortable down there. So I'm going to for sure replace some of these Allen heads with shorter Allen screws. It's a nice touch that makes the guitar feel so much nicer, I think. The action and relief are pretty decent. I'll have another look at them. I'll do a whole setup. The intonation's off a little bit, not much. But once I do other stuff, the intonation's like the last thing at the end of the setup I'll look at then once all's done. I'll finally get to the output jack eventually, which is what started all this. I'll take the neck out. I'm going to check the neck pocket, see how the neck sits in, make sure that fits in nice and snug. So once this is tuned up, the question is, how does it compare to my nice Warmoth Strats that I really like a lot? I think they're pretty awesome. What I am interested in though is probably putting a nice heavy brass sustain block in the back. So you can buy one of those for like 20 bucks. Maybe I just spend 50 bucks and replace the bridge. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Depends. I'm not looking at going crazy on this though. At the end of the day, I want to make it playable, make it fun to play, take it back to Kevin and have something I can grab when I switch off the bass and I can grab a guitar off the wall and play it down there. And I love Strats. Rosewood Strat. What's not to like about it? This thing's ready. It's ready to go do some other stuff with it. So I know it's cheap, but it's going to work. Cheaper guitars than this have had hit songs written on them and been on the. I mean, it's the truth. Poorer quality control than this was the birth of rock and roll. So this guitar has tons of potential. I just want to do my own personal tweaks and things that cost nothing but elbow grease and patience and logic. Little things. There's time-tested formulas you can put into these guys, and I believe turn almost any decent Strat that's not severely flawed, turn any decent Strat into a decent player that just maybe needs a set of pickups. Neck position. So that's all in the neck. Bridge. Little overdrive. So to me, these ceramic pickups, they're Stratty, but they don't have character. They're dull, they're bright, but they're dull. They're not interesting. I don't know, at least to me. So, next chapter, pick guard off, what's happening, how do things look? That's it for now.